Good afternoon and welcome to our virtual Career Connections Who's Hiring webinar. If this is your first time attending one of our Career Connections events, the purpose of these are really to match women in the community with educational opportunities as well as to organizations in our community that are hiring. My name is Lori Gentile. I'm the Director of Client Services for the Women's Resource Center, and I'm going to be your host and co-presenter today. As you may actually, before we get started, as you may have noticed, all of the lines are muted today. And the purpose of this is so that we don't have any background noise. We are recording this and it'll be available as a replay on our website shortly after we end the webinar. I also wanted to let you know that just because the lines are muted, it doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. So if you'd like to ask a question, if you hover your cursor over the Zoom screen, you'll see a Q&A box, and just type your question in the Q&A box. And at the end of the presentation, we'll answer as many questions as possible. So our agenda today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Women's Resource Center and what we do. And then our other presenter is going to talk about industries that are hiring during the pandemic and give some examples. We'll take a look at our website where we keep, all types of clients. We monitor and see who's hiring and keep that up on our website. Then we'll talk a little bit about virtual interviewing and talk about our career coaching program. And then we'll have time for questions. So the Women's Resource Center is a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering women in Sarasota and Manatee counties since 1979. In the upcoming slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about the program and services we provide, which are all at very low cost or no cost at all. Career services. We offer one-on-one career coaching. In fact, that's how I wound up coming to the Women's Resource Center. I was a volunteer career coach. Career Center. In our Career Center, you have access to computers and one-on-one computer training, resume writing services, or just if you want to come in and use the computers to help you with your job search. We also offer many different types of workshops. One is a job seeker networking, where we pair together people that are out looking for jobs. There's a little bit of learning at the beginning of the session, and then you can network with other women in the community that are also looking to change careers or find a new job. And then we have a career closet, which is just an amazing place. It's set up like a small boutique. And in the career closet, our clients are able to get clothing to help ace a job interview or to get them through until they get their first job opening. Of course, everybody is welcome to come in, not just job seekers. Educational services, resource advising. It really all starts with resource advising. So when a client walks through our doors, they will see a resource advisor. And the resource advisor will listen to their stories, listen to what's happening with them, and be able to refer them either to a program in the Women's Resource Center, or we have very tight partnerships with all of our community partners. Ask a Banker. Ask a Banker are 45-minute free sessions. We have a partnership with Bank of America, and you can come in and ask questions about budgeting, navigating, buying or refinancing, getting a loan, mortgage questions. And then also Women's Money Empowerment. That's another financial program that we have. And the whole premise behind the Women's Money Empowerment is to help women build financial security through building wealth, planning for the future, whether that's children or college or retirement, or just planning for the life that you desire. It also supports women who are navigating through a significant change in their life, such as divorce, death of a spouse, a significant move. And the Women's Money Empowerment has two different programs. One is a 45-minute consultation. Come with your questions and meet with a finance professional, and also education programs. So Women's Money Empowerment, we have monthly webinars as well as podcasts. Ask an Attorney. Ask an Attorney is the same type of consultation around legal issues surrounding immigration or family law. And then we have all kinds of lectures and classes and workshops, and those will differ depending on from site to site. And of course, like all of our other services, we now have a lot of these lectures and workshops via Zoom. And also we give out scholarships. In fact, we're just awarding scholarships right now. And then empowerment services. We offer low-cost mental health counseling, mentoring. We have many different support groups. Again, they meet at different times and in different centers, workshops, and one of our longest standing groups, that's the Latinas of the Women's Resource Center. And then we have wellness programs. So programs to support the body and mind, yoga, book club, meditation, lunch bunch, and astrology. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Kim Roden. Kim has been an extraordinary volunteer with the Women's Resource Center for the past 6 years, as well as volunteering for other nonprofits in the community. She has a BA in journalism, a master's in public policy, and an MBA. She was even an elected official from 2004 to 2012 and has years of executive management experience in various organizations, both for and not for profit. So I told you she was extraordinary. Kim, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Laurie. I'm going to try to address questions first that affect the landscape of the job market. So it's kind of like when you go to a lookout center and maybe it's the top of a hill you like to go to, the celery fields, or maybe you're looking over the bay, or you're looking out your front door. That's kind of what I want to start with, is what does the landscape look like with the pandemic for the job market? And as the slide indicates, there are three key areas that we really want clients and those looking for work to think about. Right now, the job market is more fluid and changing than it typically is. I've been doing job coaching for about 6 years with the Women's Resource Center, and I've seen various economic cycles. And when you get to a place like we're in, which is unprecedented, we haven't seen a government-imposed recession before. Never before have we experienced that. We did that for health reasons, obviously. But the good news is, in spite of the pandemic and in spite of widespread unemployment, there are still opportunities in the job market. One thing that's really important is it's easy to feel down right now if you pay attention to the news, or if you've been trying to teach your kids at home, plus work from home, or maybe you were laid off and you don't know if you'll be called back. There's a lot of pressure that we don't normally experience. And what that means is we all feel it. And it isn't just those of us who are experiencing unemployment, which we don't know if it's short-term or long-term, but that can affect our outlook. And one of the things that we like to work with our clients on is that attitude and problem-solving ability are typically the two most important metrics of success. So in spite of the things that might be affecting you, when you are interacting with a potential employer, whether it's on the telephone, on a Zoom call, through email, your tone and intent ideally are positive. And that's hard when you look around and you're not sure if you can feel optimistic. But I would encourage anyone who's either employed and hoping to get more hours, or employed but hoping to get a different job, or unemployed and hoping to get any job, because you could be in any of those places, to stay positive and recognize that you might get an offer for a job that you might not have typically thought you'd be interested in. And this happened to me actually in 2009, which seems like more than a decade ago now, obviously, but it was at the last peak of the economic decline. And I got a job offer. Actually, the employer pursued me for about a year. It was not a job that I was ideally wanting to take. But at that time, the economy said, you know what, if you want to work, you better take this job. So I took the job. And it turned out to be one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. So sometimes when you're in a position like this and you're not sure if the job that you've been offered is the one you want, if you can look at it as an opportunity, and if it's in a large organization, you might be able to start in that job and build your career success within that employer, and then find yourself moving on to a better job or a more important job or a better paying job within the same company. So the job market, just to summarize this slide, fluid and ever changing. You have to be engaged pretty much full time. You have to be accessible. You have to check and make sure that your cell phone, if you're waiting for phone calls, that you clear your messages so that if an employer calls you, they don't get a full mailbox. You have to have a positive message on your answering machine, which is typically a cell phone these days. Listen to how you sound. Hi, this is Mary Jones, or hi, this is Tanika Jones, or whatever your name is. How does your voice sound if the employer gets your messaging? Do you sound positive? Do you sound professional? Do you have a kind of concentration and pronunciation in your outgoing message of your voicemail? Does it sound like someone that an employer would want to hire? Likewise, your email address. Is it a professionally sounding email address? Some of us like to have fun and we have funny sounding email addresses. I'm not going to tell you to change your email address if you don't want to, but I would tell you that depending on the kind of job you're looking for, how you present yourself is just as important as your accessibility and what your resume says. I think we can move on to the next slide, Lori.
Okay.
So what companies are hiring? That's what everybody wants to know. And as you can see from the slide, there are a lot of companies in our Sarasota, Manatee, Venice region that are hiring. And you might not know it. You might think, well, we have high unemployment, everyone's been laid off. Actually, waves of employees are being called back. And one of the biggest employers in town is Sarasota Memorial Hospital. They furloughed people associated with non-emergency medical care. They've called them back. Most nursing facilities are looking for people. These are long-term care facilities. They might be independent living facilities. They're hiring. Obviously, manufacturing is hiring. We have one of the biggest manufacturers here in our region, which is PPT Industries, which manufactures windows and doors. Okay, and they are a very, very successful manufacturer. So if you're interested in white collar positions with PGT, you can look online. And in fact, I looked last night and they're actually hiring a human resources generalist right now. Big box retail. A number of those were not shuttered during the initial stage of the pandemic. Lowe's, for example, is doing a lot of hiring. The grocers are doing a lot of hiring. Publix, for example, has a lot of openings in a lot of different places. Delivery drivers, because a lot of the restaurants have converted to takeout and delivery. Pharmacies, a lot of them need help. Tutoring organizations. And one of my favorites is the last on the slide. And the reason it's one of my favorites is most of the local government and school positions provide benefits. And for those of us who have dependents, whether it's children or a spouse or someone, we want to have good medical insurance. We want to be able to offer medical insurance to our family members if we take a job. We would like to have paid vacation, those types of things. Most of the local government positions do have those types of benefits depending on the job. For example, right now, Sarasota County is hiring bus operators, bus attendants, park attendants. They're hiring an administrative assistant. They're hiring 2 different positions in their planning function, a planner and a plan reviewer. They have management positions open. They have an environmental specialist position open. They have landscape workers that they're hiring, signal electronic technicians, and engineers. So the reason I actually listed the specific positions that Sarasota County is hiring for is for you to be aware that all of those positions are open right now. And most of the employers are looking for really well-versed potential employees who are ready to start work, who have a job history that can be explained. And a lot of us don't have linear job histories. What do I mean by that? Well, we might have had to stop working for a period of time to take care of children. Maybe we had an elderly parent we were working for. As long as we can explain gaps on our resume and they can make sense to an employer, it shouldn't keep you from applying. So those are the types of organizations that are hiring right now. And unfortunately, as we all know, most of them are going to require you to do an online job application. And when I say unfortunately, I mean that somewhat humorously, because we all probably feel like we're spending far too much time in front of computer screens right now. But at the end of the day, that is how most organizations recruit. In every single one of the bullets on this slide, you will probably have to do an online job application first. And I want to just mention to you the importance of checking that before you submit it. And for those of you who do this a lot, I'm going to tell you something you already know. But for those of you who haven't done this, because maybe this joblessness is new to you, or maybe you haven't had to get a job, maybe someone in your family's been furloughed and now you need to get a job as well. Make sure that what you put on that online job application is absolutely accurate. Because even though you're not putting your physical signature on it, most employers will use the job application as a document that is almost legal in nature, where everything you present is accurate. And so I encourage you, once you do apply online, to double check those dates, double check your spelling, make sure that the employer actually receives your online application, follow up with human resources by telephone or by email, use LinkedIn to network within an organization you're interested in, but be sure that your job application that you submit online is accurate. Next slide.
Okay, I'll take it from here, Kim.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to share with you today is the Women's Resource Center COVID-19 Resources page. And the reason why I think it would be of interest is because on that page, we keep current the industry or the companies that are actually hiring throughout the pandemic. So that link, just mywrc.org, brought me to the Women's Resource Center main page. So this is our landing page. And as you can see right at the very top, these are our COVID-19 resources. So if you click on local resources, it'll take you to our resource page. And this page has been updated one or more times every day since the pandemic started. So on here, you'll see emergency resources. That's the United Way Free Hotline. There are financial resources. Sorry, a box covering my screen. And food service sites, all information about food service pantries. And then this is the piece that I want to share with you today, and that is the employment resources. So as you'll see down the left side, this is all different types of employment services. So remote career advising, which we'll talk a little bit about more in a bit. Career source, reemployment assistance, job search sites, and health. But here's where I want to show you some of these sites. These are companies that are currently hiring either full-time or part-time positions. And as I said, you know, we scour and keep a lookout on, you know, what's happening in the market daily, and we list them on this website. But these are actually, these are actually links to the job sites. So for example, PGT Windows. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that link, but here we go. Each one of the sites or company names, if you click on the name, it's going to bring you to the company career page. So this is PGT. And to see their job openings, you click here. And then this is a list of all of the jobs that are open in PGT. All of the sites look pretty similar to this one. As you can see, lots and lots of different types of job openings. And then if you click on the actual name, and most of the sites work fairly the same. So this is a field service technician. And it brings you to some more details about the actual position. So the job details, what the qualifications are, what kind of education is expected, language. And then up at the top, there's an apply now button. So you can apply, as Kim was mentioning before, just apply right online. Go back and take a look at one more. Here's Sarasota County, Kim was just talking about. And then these are all the different positions open in the county. And over here, you can take a look at it or apply as well. So they're, you know, they each look a little bit differently, but a lot of them navigate pretty much the same way. I also wanted to point out, because it's especially meaningful today, is our services page. Because now there's all of our services, we actually closed our centers on March 20th, but all of our services are now delivered remotely as opposed to in the centers. So there is one page on our website that's dedicated just to the specific programs and services that we offer remotely. They're all done via Zoom, but you can call in with a phone or use technology, a laptop. But this tells you a little bit about all of the different services. And this is the career advising, which obviously, you know, supports the topic that we're talking about today. Okay, so back to you, Kim.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to address, we got a question in the chat bar that I think I can address quickly, and then I'll launch into the bullet points on this slide. The question came in, what tutoring jobs are available right now? And just as an example, I did a search, a live search, so that I could give you present day, this minute information. And there are 9 tutor jobs available right now in Sarasota. They range, examples are online English teacher through Education First, remote English teacher, a tutor in Lakewood Ranch. So what you would do is, if you're interested in tutoring positions, be they remote tutoring, which a lot of people would be interested in doing right now, because obviously if they can work from home, there's a lot of benefits to that. There are positions, but you've got to do some work on them in terms of finding them. And then I'll launch now into the bullets on this slide, because it relates to the question that we got in the chat box. How do you find the jobs that are available, and then what do you do? So the 3 bullets that are listed on our slide, the Employ Florida site, this is an important site, and we have the Women's Resource Center, a partnership with Career Suncoast, which is the local Employ Florida organization that works with people who are looking for jobs. They, I believe, are also offering their services remotely right now. But at the end of the day, if you enroll with Employ Florida and you set up a profile with them based on your resume and your set of experiences, you will begin to get job postings that relate to your background sent to you. The same is true with some of the bullets at the bottom: LinkedIn, Indeed, Monster.com. And one that's not, that I personally like the best of that group of 3 is LinkedIn. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile right now, I would encourage you to spend time building one, even if it's a simple profile. It doesn't have to be a Pulitzer Prize winning LinkedIn profile, but what you would like to do is make sure you're on LinkedIn. And the reason why is you will be able to use their search function, which gives you access to 3 main areas. One is people that are already employed in the organization that you're interested in working for, jobs that are open, and companies. So the power to me of LinkedIn is not just the networking aspect of it, which is certainly important, because 70% of all jobs are found through networking, which you can still do during a pandemic. It just looks differently. But you really want to use those search functions to be able to find people. What's my example? Well, let's say you're really interested in that PGT human resources position, or maybe you're interested in the Sarasota County Administrative Assistant position, both of which we just saw on the Women's Resource Center page. You would want to be able to do the online application, submit it, but then that's when the real job search starts. I always argue that if you just submit an application and you wait for your phone to ring, it's the equivalent of walking up to the door of an employer and not knocking. So once you do your online application and get that in, which is a requirement because legally that's how employers are screening candidates, you then need to make sure that others who know you that are within that organization, or even just the HR department representation that you can reach out to. Maybe it's an HR assistant. Maybe you just have to leave a voicemail because so many companies are working remotely now. You would call and say, I have submitted my application. I'm really interested in the position. I'd love to be able to talk to you. One of my favorite stories about how someone got a job within an organization is they applied, then they used LinkedIn to see other people who had similar jobs within the same organization. They made a few networking calls and said, hi, my name is, I'm going to make up a name, Jane Doe, and I know that you do the position XYZ. I'd love to spend 5 minutes with you on the phone talking to you about what it's like to work there. That person actually talked to 2 or 3 people that had the same type of job and eventually networked their way into employment with that company. That's known as cold calling, right? They don't know the people that are in those jobs, but they present themselves professionally. They present themselves enthusiastically, And therefore, when they leave that phone call, maybe they get a phone call back, maybe they don't. Maybe they get a response to their email, maybe they don't. Ideally, employers are going to respond. But as we all know, at times like this, it's hard to predict what the response will be. Does that mean that you, the job search candidate, shouldn't do everything in your power to make yourself known to the employer? Absolutely not. As I like to say, humorously, of course, you go right up to and don't cross the line of stalking an employer. And what I mean by that is you make enough contacts where you make it clear to the employer you're very interested in the position, you'd really like to be considered, and the route to getting a job is an interview. You cannot get hired without an interview. So your goal, whether it's looking at the second bullet on our slide, the Manatee Chamber and their employment resources link. Let's say you see something on there that you're really interested in. You certainly want to apply, but that is only, and I repeat, only your first step. You have to be known. You have to differentiate yourself from other potential candidates. You also don't want to be a pest. So it's one of those situations where you have to use your good judgment. You have to make sure that you've made enough introductions and enough inquiries to be noticed, but not so many that you somehow irritate the HR person. So that's a fine line, and you can always get some coaching from one of the job coaches at the Women's Resource Center about how much you should try to reach out to an employer. Each employer has a different culture. Some employers are very open to being contacted. Some are a little more introverted. So in essence, you kind of have to get guidance on what to do. Then I think we can move on to the next slide, Lori.
Okay.
So what about wages? That's always the question, right? Wage scales, in spite of the pandemic, are up about 4%. In Sarasota right now, in the Manatee Venice area, the average hourly wage is about $21 an hour. And that's going to be for people that have a skill set, an employment record that displays continuous success, that you've had continuous employment. Here's the good news about unemployment right now. You probably wouldn't think there'd be good news in a webinar about unemployment, but here's the good news. So many people have been affected by the pandemic. It is no longer kind of unusual to be contacting employers and saying, I've been furloughed, or I am currently looking for my next opportunity. So many people have been affected by the pandemic. So many people have been affected by unemployment that you do not stand out as someone who's unemployed. Entry-level wages, thankfully, are no longer $10 an hour. Some positions obviously are. Low-skilled positions, you're going to see some below $13 and $14 an hour. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I would encourage you to look at your financial picture. If you're not sure about your financial picture and what it is you need to do, there are some intricacies related to unemployment right now. And I would encourage you to go ahead and try to get hired. Even if you're concerned that you may forego your unemployment, there's no guarantee that the federal subsidy of $600 a week that exists right now is going to continue past June. It might not. If you go to the Florida unemployment website, which we all know has been problematic, there are some interesting informational bullets on there about whether or not you would forego your unemployment if you get some employment. And all I would encourage you to do is, if you're concerned about foregoing your unemployment while getting a job, don't let that stop you. Try to get employed anyway, because in many cases, for a period of time, if you don't get the number of hours you want, if it's not full-time employment, there is some provisional requirements in there that you can continue to get some subsidies. Everyone's situation is different, so I'm not giving you advice that you can take to the bank. What I'm giving you is advice to try to get employed, pay attention to the rules on the unemployment website, and recognize that if you're hesitating to jump full bore into the job market because of fear that you will forego your unemployment, you may or may not have to forego all of it. So try to get employed. Next slide, please. Virtual interview tips. This is more important than ever. When you do have a interview with a employer, if it's a Zoom interview or Google Chat interview, something where your picture, you personally, are going to be shown, you want to make sure that you're not sending a casual message to the employer. This is not a telephone call, obviously, you'd have with one of your friends or family. This is a professional interview. So imagine that even though it may be virtual, you may be on a Zoom call or an equivalent Zoom call, you still want to have a very professional background. It's almost like you're walking into the employer. How are you dressed? How's the lighting? You don't want your dog barking. You want to make sure that if you've got others in the home, which a lot of us do right now, pets or kids or spouses or partners, that they're not going to be making noise during that time. And so that requires some negotiation skills on your part. But I would encourage you to pay attention to what your background looks like on a Zoom call, and be sure that when you're ready and you've scheduled such a call and you're available to the employer for an interview, that you can put your best foot forward. Next slide. Virtual interview tips. I would encourage any of you to do some practice phone calls, and you can do that with job coaches at the Women's Resource Center. You can do that with family or friends. But what you want to try to do is have your camera at eye level. You want to have some light on your face, not so much that it's glaring, but you want to make sure that your face shows up, that the employer can read your body language, because that's still important even though you're not in the room with the employer. You want to make sure you can be heard and you're enunciating. And one of the things I have to keep working on myself is the speed at which I talk. You want to try to enunciate your words. You want to talk clearly and slowly enough that the employer can hear you. I can't emphasize enough the importance of practicing, and make sure that the key points that you want to make in the job interview are visible to you, and that you can quickly look down at your notes without being distracting to the employer while you're being interviewed, and make sure that you can answer those questions and make the points that you really want to make to the employer. Next slide, please. So, Lori, do you want me to take this one, or do you want to go ahead and take it?
Why don't you, since
Okay.
you are a career coach?
Okay, well, I don't want people to get tired of my voice, so we'll go back and forth. What I miss, you please be sure to cover. This is really important. I really encourage you, if you're feeling like you want support, any kind of support, with practicing your job interviewing, phone and video, help with your resume, help with interviewing, how to network during a pandemic, any of the points that are on the screen that you can see under free one-on-one career coaching, I would encourage you to call and make an appointment. Why? Because we are a safe place. We are here to help you. We are our only goal is to help you be successful. And there are very few times in life, right, where we get to say, this is all about you. It is all about you. So we welcome working with applicants who are looking for work. We welcome getting people who need resume assistance. We welcome working with people who want to practice interviewing. Ultimately, however, the way in which we're doing that now is different than if we had our doors open right now. Normally, we'd say, come to one of our offices, make an appointment, and meet one-on-one. Now it's still the same. It's just a little different. Instead of coming to our office, you call and make an appointment, and the person who will work with you will set up a Zoom appointment with one of the people that can help you with those things. So I would encourage you to use the same techniques that you normally have done, whether or not you are a repeat client of the Women's Resource Center or a new client. Call and make an appointment. If you're not sure what help you need, and you just kind of are a little lost, like a lot of people feel right now because we're in an area that most of us haven't experienced before, call and say, I'm not really sure what I'm asking for. We've had clients do that. Tell me about what you offer at the Women's Resource Center. And a nice person will call you back, or if you get them live, we'll answer your questions and you can make an appointment. Is there anything you want to
I think the only thing I would add is this service is free. So all of the career services are free. And also, you can either call the center, or if you know exactly what you want, on our website, on that remote services page, there's a request for an appointment at the bottom of that page. So you can also contact us that way. So that wraps up the presentation piece. I saw that a couple of people joined later after the opening. So I just wanted to remind folks, obviously the lines are muted, but if you have a question, there's a box. If you hover your cursor over the screen, over the Zoom screen, there's a box at the bottom and it says Q&A. If you click that, you can type your questions and we'll ask them live.
And while people are doing that, assuming people have questions, I would like to just mention a few other job openings that I'm aware of right now. And these are current job openings. One is with the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. They're looking for a case manager. And that has a very nice salary associated with it. It's roughly mid-50s to mid-60s. Obviously, with a position like that, you're going to need to have some credentials, meaning educational credentials, as well as job experience in working as a case manager. If you're interested in a position like that, while you're thinking of questions, you might want to tap into the chat bar. You can go to the sheriff's website, which is www.sarasotasheriff.org. And now a different job opening that's available, very different kind of job, but we may have many people on this call that might be more interested in this kind of work. The Sarasota Post Office is currently hiring rural mail carriers. Okay, that's quite a mouthful. Rural mail carriers. And the pay for that is posted at $18.56 an hour. So if you fancy yourself someone who'd like to drive a vehicle and deliver mail in some of the unincorporated parts of the area, you would go to usps.com/employment. That's another position that's open right now. Switching now from positions that are available that I know of, I'm going to switch to how to find other positions. And we did talk about this last week, but I'd like to talk about it again because it's still live for 3 more days. The Herald Tribune Media Group, which is the local newspaper publication, the Herald Tribune, some of you may get the newspaper or you may read it online. They currently have an online job fair right now, and they have a number of positions available on that online job fair. The Out of Door Academy, one of our questions had to do with tutoring positions. They're hiring. Westminster in Bradenton is hiring. Longboat Key, the community Longboat Key, just over the Ringling Bridge, for those of you who are maybe new to the area or not exactly sure where Longboat Key is. They are an incorporated town. They have positions available. There are dentists in the area that are hiring. Interestingly, One Stop Housing is hiring right now. And One Stop Housing is an organization that the Women's Resource Center has worked a lot with, which links people who are looking for affordable housing in the area with potential rentals. So One Stop Housing is also hiring. For those of you who might live south in the Venice area, Venice on the Isle is hiring. And Venice on the Isle is a combination independent living, long-term care. They have a variety of living situations for people who are older that they have available. So they have many positions that are available. For those of you who are just looking for maybe a part-time job, you just want to make a little extra money, there's a position on their online job fair for the Jersey Brothers Pizza and Pasta. And so those are some examples. There's an interesting part-time job open right now. It's a concierge position that's just 2 days a week. and it's with the Promenade Company. It's a luxury condominium on Longboat Key, and they're looking for a part-time concierge 2 days a week, Thursday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, if you're interested in that position, what you would do is go to their website or email your resume to mgr, capital LBK condo @gmail.com. That's MGR, which is the abbreviation for manager, LBK, all caps, condo, so it's all one word, @gmail.com. There's another facility that provides care to seniors that's hiring right now. And that's Home Instead, for those of you who might be interested in doing some caregiving. They're hiring right now. I'm just looking to see if I missed anybody, Lori, because I did pull up current job openings that I thought people might have questions about. There's a property management position with One Stop Housing. So it looks like we have some questions, some new questions in the toolbar. Do you want to?
You're on your One Stop Housing information. Someone asked if you had the contact information for One Stop.
I do. And let me just pull it up. I can either type it into the chat bar or read it off. What would be your preference? Why don't I do both? We've got time to do both. What you would want to do is email, if you're interested in working for One Stop Housing, the email address that you would email your resume to is Mary, SEA, @onestophousing.com. Now I'm going to spell that out for you. MARYSE, capital A, @onestophousing.com. Their phone number is 941-586-4947. And their website is www.onestophousing.com. So I will type in what I just said because the person who asked the question asked me to do that. So I'm going to do that for that person. Are there other questions that people have that we can answer while we have them with us?
There is one that came through she was asking about the Employ Florida website. And she said it's not coming up for her. So I tried it here and it came up fine. So what I will do is when this webinar is over, I will email you a link and let's see if that works for you. Yeah, so I know it's working because I have it here. I'm not sure why you'd be having trouble, but I'll email the link to you. So then maybe that will help solve that problem.
And while we're, it looks like there's another question that came in, Lori. I was just going to pull it up. Oh, I got to thank you. I did type in the information. I want to briefly, since we don't have very much time left, just mention one other thing because we didn't get into detail on this. How do you network during a pandemic? We did talk about this for those of you who were with us last week, but I want to reiterate it because you can't say it enough. When you're looking for work, you want to tell everyone you're looking for work. That includes if you have somebody who comes to do your pest control, or maybe you are at a restaurant picking up some takeout food, or however you're interacting with people, be it on the phone or via email. You want to tell everyone that you're looking for work. Why? Because you never know when or who is going to give you a job lead. And for those of you who are repeat from last week's webinar, I'm going to make this really fast. I once worked with a temporary secretary who moved on to her next temporary secretary assignment. She knew I was looking to move on from the job I was in, and she called me and told me, hey, the place I'm at now is looking for someone who has your background. So guess what? I applied for that job and got it. It's one of my favorite stories. Why? Because she was on hold waiting for me to get off a call. I took her call and she said, remember me? I was your temporary secretary. Yep, I do. Thanks for calling. How are you? Well, there's a job here. So why do I tell that story? Because it's an illustration of how it's almost like you're fishing. You never know which line is going to move. And so you want to have as many lines in the water as you can and get lucky. And if you tell the right person that you're looking for work, you'll often get that referral, and that referral leads to potentially an interview, which then leads to a job.
Yeah, we had one more come in. Is one-on-one career counseling free for the first appointment only? No, it's free for the whole program. So whether you, and some clients only require one or two meetings, and some will come over time, and all of those appointments are free.
Right. And likewise with resumes, we're doing some online resume assistance. I know I've had some clients who've been getting that help. And that's such an important thing, is making sure your resume is not got any typos, that it makes, it's accurate, it's easy to read, and that it translates online, because sometimes formatting changes for those of you who are not always severe. And one last thing I want to mention, this is important. Computer skills are something that is not a nice to have these days, it's a requirement. So if you aren't working right now and you know your computer skills aren't where you want them to be, I would encourage you to take this time and do some free or low cost Microsoft certification courses, so that it's a current credential. You can tell your employer, yes, I've been recently trained on whichever software program they're looking for, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, it really doesn't matter. But don't let the fact that the libraries aren't open, or the Suncoast, where we do a lot of computer training, isn't open, because you can often find those training courses free or low cost online.
Yeah. Good. Well, no more questions right now. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe one more. Oh, great. Somebody said thank you, and they're going to be reaching out to us for resume and interview help. So good. I'm glad to hear that.
And these slides are available, right, Lori, as well as this entire webinar?
We'll send out the slides probably this afternoon or tomorrow morning. And as I mentioned too, it's recorded, so we'll send out the link to the recording at the same time. So thank you, Kim.
Thank you,
for
Lori,
joining me, and thank you everybody for attending, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, we hope to talk to you via Zoom or in some other way, and we want to help you get that job you're looking for and build that career you'd like to have. So thank you all.
Great, thank you.